the Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And then we're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a monster.
On camera, she laughed while she badgered her staff. And so all good things must end. And also the Ellen DeGeneres show. Yes, the 83-year-old entertainer just announced that the upcoming 19th season of her show will be its last. Apparently, she created a workplace more toxic than an Amazon warehouse in Chernobyl.
Ellen DeGeneres thought she could cha-cha-slide her way through controversy until Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld showed up like caffeinated wrecking balls at a daytime demolition derby. One moment she's America's quirky sweetheart in sneakers, the next she's getting dragged harder than a stunt double with vertigo. What exactly did Ellen sweep beneath that polished studio rug? Spoiler, it wasn't just confetti. This expose makes her TikTok dances look more like dramatized crime reenactments.
It's like a beautiful name, Isis.
Ellen's rough. That's
Ellen
a
is
rough
like
one.
an old.
But it's a rough one now.
It's a rough one now because she was running Abu Ghraib in the back of her show. That's a rough one. She's out there dancing with Kristen Bell, and in the back, there's people that are getting up on the rack like this.
It's so weird when you see, like, a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She does.
Countless allegations surfaced last summer that the show's work environment was rife with harassment and discrimination. Following those charges, Ellen's ratings dropped faster than Kevin Spacey's pants at a boy band.
Ellen, the woman who once preached kindness while allegedly running her set like a boot camp for emotional fragility, seemed to believe that the path to America's heart was paved with toaster giveaways and soul-crushing staff meetings. Rumor has it, she could brighten a room with a smile, right before screaming at an intern until their spirit dissolved like a salted slug.
Kicked out of show business. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, because I'm mean. Yeah. Yeah, you can't be mean and be in show business. No, they'll kick.
But worry not, America. Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld have unofficially launched a full-scale assault on daytime delusion. Rogan's podcast is the internet's man cave, and Gutfeld is what happens when Fox News tries stand-up comedy in loafers. Together, their snark radars locked onto Ellen like heat-seeking missiles, and suddenly that pastel paradise of a set started looking more like the soul-draining fluorescence of a DMV.
It doesn't seem nice, but that's people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid.
Ellen was once crowned the queen of nice, until people realized nice meant passive-aggressive glares and robotic smiles fit for a Stepford showroom. The stories are legendary. Don't look her in the eyes, don't speak unless spoken to, and even then, pray she's not mid-spiritual recharge via reflective surface. Interns were allegedly treated like furniture, ironic, since most had more life than the fox fiddle leaf figs on set.
DeGeneres, bails for the UK. All right, I'm going to go to you first, Kat, because this is I think you understand this story. So Ellen and her wife, Portia, have left their millionaire haven of Montecito for England. Now, they're saying they'll never come back in the wake of Trump's win. Do you think that's the reason why she's leaving?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellen got canceled for real a few years ago from just being a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a single comment she said or something she did, just lots of people saying that working for her was a living nightmare and that she's a jerk. And I think that's probably why she wants to leave, because she hasn't really been able to make it.
When Rogan caught wind of all this, you could practically hear his eyebrows raise across the nation. The man who interviews astronauts and liver-eating survivalists was suddenly transfixed by tales of vegan temper tantrums and candle-scent tyranny. Naturally, Gutfeld joined in, Devouring the hypocrisy like it was a gluten-free cake Ellen lobbed at an assistant for buying the wrong almond milk.
They made progress with the strike.
They're picketing right now, so I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one.
When someone crosses the writer strike, that's some dirty shit. They cross the picket line.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody doing that yet.
I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was writing on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those. Like, I'm so nice and I'm so sweet. Being behind the scenes.
Let's be honest. Ellen's empire was built on quirky relatability. She danced, she handed out toasters, she made middle America believe their Target cashier might secretly be a national treasure. But pull back the curtain, and it's less Wizard of Oz, more Wicked Witch with a daytime Emmy. Former employees whispered stories like they were auditioning for a Netflix docuseries, Toxic Work Environment, the musical. Rogan, who's chatted with everyone from Neil deGrasse Tyson to dudes who eat insects recreationally, was baffled. MMA fighters, he noted, displayed more empathy than what allegedly went on in Ellen's green room. Gutfeld, meanwhile, was vibrating with joy. Nothing screams Fox News gigglefest like dismantling a liberal icon with jazz hands.
I was quitting, I would have not come back this year. I really did think about not coming back because it did, it was devastating. I am a kind person. I am a person who likes to make people happy.
No, the real reason, she says, is it was just too easy. Telling the Hollywood Reporter, quote, when you're a creative person, you constantly need to be challenged. And as great as this show is, and as fun as it is, it's just not a challenge anymore. Well, if that's true, here's an idea. When your viewership is down 43%, why not consider that the challenge?
And yes, we're talking about the same Ellen who once preached compassion while reportedly firing people for taking medical leave. That's not kindness. That's an HR horror show wrapped in a blinding smile and a bowl cut. Let's not forget the infamous George W. Bush incident. Ellen giggling next to the architect of two wars was like watching a vegan making out with a bacon cheeseburger. Rogan didn't blink. He's the guy who grills astrophysicists barefoot. To him, that brunch with Bush was like a UFC fighter asking for a ceasefire to hug his opponent. Gutfeld, mentally throwing confetti at the hypocrisy. A Hollywood liberal laughing with a Republican. That's his Christmas morning if Santa wore irony and danced poorly.
When you become successful, you have to spend less time with people around you because you're servicing. Take Ellen DeGeneres, she's servicing millions of people in her show. Therefore, she has to kind of like mitigate or control the amount of exposure with actual real people. Does that make sense?
It does in theory, but when you, but I'm still always hanging out on the street, and I'm super famous. But all these reports, there were so many of them of people being like, multiple people had the same story of her handlers before an interview or anything with her would come up and say, "Don't look her."
Ellen tried to explain it away. She's friends with everyone, which is cute unless everyone includes people who treat empathy like a character flaw. That's not friendship. That's emotional hoarding. And when Rogan and Gutfeld, two men who agree on basically nothing, are united in calling out your contradictions, you've officially crossed into maybe you're the problem territory. Her non-apology after the show imploded was pure PR pageantry. A rehearsed monologue in front of a team silently calculating how much more trauma they had to endure to clear their student loans. Gutfeld was giddy. Rogan? Probably muttering in his sensory deprivation tank, "This is why I only trust chimps and comedians."
But Ellen told the Today Show, home of Matt Lauer, that the bad press actually had nothing to do with her decision. Right, and the Titanic didn't hit an iceberg. It chose to.
There's something deliciously satisfying about America waking up to the fact that Ellen's smile might have been less sunshine in a bottle and more hostage in a toothpaste ad. The aesthetic, immaculate. The reality, like if Willy Wonka ran on passive aggression and overpriced matcha. Every show started with her dancing through the audience like an inflatable tube man having an existential crisis, while backstage, someone was probably being scolded for breathing near her dressing room. Gutfeld roasted that contrast with the enthusiasm of a gremlin on espresso. The Empire of Joy had more fractures than California pavement. Rogan just laughed. When your day job involves raw organ meats and quantum mechanics, a celebrity meltdown is just another Thursday.
She is, Emily, I watched her comedy special. It was like a huge pity party. It was about how she was lamenting how her reputation has suffered. She's essentially as popular as a pit bull with monkeypox. But she's putting this on Trump. Do you think that she's going to be, just everybody's going to love her in England?
Especially the jihadis who love the lesbians so much. They're going to love her there.
And the more Ellen tried to fix it, the worse it got. New producers, heartfelt speeches, desperate attempts to reclaim the nice throne. It was like gluing together a piñata after the candy's already been looted. Gutfeld compared it to the fall of Rome. If Rome were converse and hosted celebrity charades, Rogan likened it to psychedelic ego death, but with lawsuits instead of enlightenment. And the guests? Some probably earned the cold shoulder, but others looked like they were blinking Morse code for help between fake laughs and oversized gift cards. Ellen could eviscerate you with a smile sharp enough to open Amazon boxes. Rogan once sparred with Mike Tyson and kept his teeth. Watching Ellen roast celebrities like a suburban Regina George made even him flinch. Gutfeld said what everyone else was thinking. If Ellen had a mustache and wore a red hat, she'd have been canceled faster than you can say dance break.
He asked me, it was St. Patrick's Day, and Ellen asked me to dress as a leprechaun and come out on stage. And this is where, if you're wondering the low point of my career.
When you say she asked me, you're like, this is not a request.
It wasn't a request. I had to do it.
Yeah, you're doing this.
When you make an employee get in a leprechaun outfit and he's Irish, that's just cruel. That's racism.
Yeah.
I think why wouldn't that be? Think about other races. Would you have taken a Chinese employee on the Chinese New Year and put him in one of those big pagoda hats and made him dance to gong music?
Even her humor aged like oat milk on a radiator. What once passed as cheeky banter started to reek of microaggressions in a pastel wrapper. If the audience gasps before they laugh, that's not comedy. That's performance cruelty. Somewhere, Gutfeld was likely sipping from his smug, told-you-so mug, savoring the unraveling of Hollywood's morality mascot. For him, this was the Super Bowl, minus the athletes, plus the self-righteous unraveling. Rogan, ever the skeptic, filed Ellen away between kangaroos and pyramid schemes on his mental list of things that bite. As for her comeback efforts, a new home goods line, a vape podcast, maybe an apology-scented candle that smells like guilt and lavender. Classic Hollywood. Deny, deflect, rebrand, repeat. Rogan would rather chew drywall than buy an Ellen throw pillow. Gutfeld probably owns one, just to mock it live. Smells like regret and unpaid overtime, he'd quip.
There's no coming back from this. Ellen DeGeneres has seemingly vanished from public life after years of dominating daytime television, leaving many wondering what really went on behind the scenes. Recently, Joe Rogan mentioned Greg Fitzsimmons, who was one of her former writers during a podcast, but what many people missed was Greg already opening up about his experiences working on the show in a previous interview, and let's just say it's not all rainbows and sunshine.
Ellen built her career on pretending every day was Christmas morning in an Apple store. Shiny, overpriced, and emotionally overwhelming. But beneath that sugar-coated facade, a walking HR violation with a killer PR team. She didn't host a talk show. She ran a pastel-colored psychological obstacle course. Staff couldn't speak, look, or breathe in her radius without triggering an executive-level meltdown. Her dancing, a TikTok tragedy before TikTok even existed. Every shimmy was a cry for help in Balloon Man form. Her interviews, less friendly banter, more survivor, celebrity humiliation. Smile for the camera, pretend it's fun, and pray the hashtag is forgiving. Ellen wasn't quirky. She was chaos in khakis. Her giveaways were choreographed distractions, her surprises more staged than a reality show reunion. America thought she was the fun aunt. Turns out, she was the one who gives you cookies and then yells at you for using the guest bathroom towels. Ellen didn't fall from grace. She face-planted over her own ego in designer sneakers. The crash? Absolutely magnificent. And behind the curtain wasn't a wizard, just a bitter comedian in white sneakers with a master's in public manipulation. So go ahead, America, be kind. But actually kind, not Ellen kind.